This is a steal for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about some NBA draft prospects that the Chicago Bulls should certainly go after if they're available in this upcoming draft. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so before we jump into it, I first want to remind you that 72.6% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So like Modest Mazelis does, make sure you slam dunk on that subscribe button, as it means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And so we're talking about the NBA draft coming up. This Monday is where we will find out exactly where the Chicago Bulls are going to draft. And I think that this is really a key step for the Chicago Bulls. I think that at this point, really, the front office should focus on really building around this backcourt that we have in Josh Giddey and Coby White. Obviously, we'll see what happens with restricted free agency with Josh Giddey. I do expect for them to take care of Josh Giddey. And then clearly, I think at some point they're going to take care of Coby White. Don't think he's going to sign this extension, but I do expect that AK is going to make things happen to get him back. But we'll see what happens once Coby White goes into free agency. But not to go too far off of topic here, I think that when it comes down to this upcoming NBA draft, I think that the Chicago Bulls really need to address the front line. And so there's two prospects that come to mind. I was looking here at a Bleacher Nation article. This was by Elias Schuster, but there were two names that definitely could be a fit here for the Chicago Bulls. And so let's start with player number one out of South Carolina, and that is going to be Colin Murray-Boyles. And so, look, he looks like a player that certainly could fit what the Chicago Bulls want to do, especially on the defensive end. I think that when you get a chance to look at his highlights, you see a player that certainly can just be, I think, just a defensive terror on that end. Okay, so he's only 6'8", but man, he plays with a ton of juice. And so played 2 seasons here at South Carolina. He's only made 9 3-pointers in his 2 seasons, so just to put that out there, full disclosure there. But he averaged 16.8 points, 1.5 steals, 1.3 blocks, 8.3 rebounds, and he shot 70.7% from the free throw line. Only 26.5 from 3, so just talked about he's only made 2 threes in 2 seasons there with them. 58.6 was his field goal percentage. And so some of the things that he does well, he's a great pick and roll player. So he is a pick and roll maestro, so to speak, because that is really huge, especially when you look at this offense and just bringing back Josh Giddey, Coby White. Like, I think that he would certainly fit in well with the way that this offense is ran. He has terrific hands, and so his catch radius is there. He's going to be able to catch the difficult passes in traffic and things like that and be able to get the ball up to the rim, and so that is a plus. I think the next thing with him, he has a pretty good handle. I think that for the most part, it's not anything that's going to be flashy, but it's enough to where he can get a defender off balance and kind of get to the cup that way. So I think he was pretty good at doing that. And then he's also very crafty at creating fouls. And so he had 6 free throw shots, I believe, a game. So he's very good and crafty as far as getting defenders up in the air. He uses a lot of pump fakes and things like that. So he'll play through some contact. And so you certainly need to do that. Next, I think the next thing for him is he's very just good on defense. I think that is the key. And so when you're talking about building around this backcourt, and one of the things that the Bulls struggled with, it was defense. And this guy is a guy that could come in and play some defense for you. So he has the type of range, I think, defensively. He can certainly switch on to a guard. I think he's going to be fine there. He's going to be a guy that can certainly recover and get the block shots. The effort level is what I really liked. So when looking at his highlights, he gives you multiple efforts. And so that type of energy is something that the Bulls certainly need. And so I would love to have him there. And as far as maybe a player comparison here, maybe you're looking at a little bit of like an Aaron Gordon, maybe a Jarred Vanderbilt type of player. He certainly has that type of feel to him. And so I think he'd be a good fit. Like I said, he's an undersized big, but I think he'd fit in with our offense. I think that the things that you worry about is, would he be able to shoot the three-point shot at some point? He's going to definitely need a table setter, which he would have that here in Chicago with Josh Giddey, which is a reason why I think he'd be a good fit. But again, Colin Murray-Boyles. That's one player that I think could be a fit for the Chicago Bulls. Next up, here's another player that has been linked to the Chicago Bulls often here, and that is Derik Queen. And so Derik Queen, if you have not got a chance to see him, played for the University of Maryland as a freshman here, 16.5 points, 9 rebounds a game, 1.1 blocks, 1.1 steals, 76.6% from the free throw line, 1.9 assists, only 20% from downtown, and 52.6 was his field goal percentage here. And so here's the thing with him. He has an excellent feel. I mean, just a terrific feel. You can see the basketball IQ offensively, very comfortable handling the basketball. I think that he is just going to be terrific if you're getting him into the top of the key situations in a lot of these pitch offs and like the dribble handoff situations. Think about some of the smooth passing that you saw with Zach Collins. I think he can certainly do that. I think that for me, I love his positioning. I like the fact that he can get good positioning to get the boards and things like that. He's not a guy that's just going to sky over top of you and dunk over you like that with the athleticism, but he's a guy that plays under the basket and just knows how to play there. He knows how to create angles. I think he's very crafty at that as far as just using his handle to get to certain angles and spots to where the defenders cannot get to his shot. So he's very crafty that way. I love the way that he faces up too. So his face-up game is something that, he could really kind of open up the offense that way. Next thing too, I love the fact that he's a guy that he knows how to use his size defensively to where he's going to, kind of impact the shots and things like that. He's not going to be a guy that athletically he's just going to be, the person maybe you depend on in like a one-on-one situation. I think he's more of kind of like a drop type of big, but he does have a lot of good activity with his hands. And so that's the thing about him. He will get the steals. He will be able to get out into the open floor and things like that. And that's what you want with this offense when you're talking about generating some more possessions, because that's what the Bulls want to do. They want to play a little bit faster. And I think that Derik Queen does that, and he gives you a little bit more physicality on the offensive end. And so I think he would definitely be another type of fit here. He reminds me a little bit of the shades of like an Elton Brand. I know Elton Brand was more of a mid-range type of shooter, but Elton Brand was a guy that I think he played under the basket for the most part. He was great with his positioning and stuff like that. And he's also probably going to remind you a little bit of an Alperen Sengun. I do see that comparison as well. But those are two bigs that I think the Chicago Bulls should certainly take a chance on. And like I said, I think that this is factoring in that you are going to build with Josh Giddey and Kobe White, which I do anticipate the Chicago Bulls doing so. And I think that both of those players here would fit in. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think here. Do you think that AK would make a decision like this in this upcoming draft if these players are available? Once again, you have Boyles here, who played for South Carolina. If he's available, would you take him? So Colin Murray-Boyles, or would you take a Derik Queen out of Maryland if he is available? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.